Welcome everyone to the Wake Up Call channel. Marilyn Manson has had his carcass scraped up off the side of the road, and they've rolled Marilyn Manson out. Why? Well, it's a perfect time, right? As we see left and right divide, as they're trying to pit Christians with the Republican Party and, of course, tie Satanism into the Democratic Party. They brought Marilyn Manson back out. And I know it's very easy to look and say, hey, it's Marilyn Manson. Do I need to watch a video on Marilyn Manson to know that he's a Satanist or not? Well, I highly recommend you watch this video to the end, and I will try to make it as short as I can to keep your attention span. But there's a lot that goes into this anthem, this satanic anthem that, of course, is being featured on YouTube, which is nothing more than a call to arms, a call to violence, a call against Christians. And that is the common theme that we see out there right now, is they are baiting Christians in. They are trying to deliberately rile us up and align us with people who do not have our best interests in mind. They are actually the definition of wolves in sheep's clothing. And I will show you that throughout the video. So let's start with the obvious, right? Marilyn Manson, the song is called Raise the Red Flag. And one of the things I want to point out is if you scroll down underneath Marilyn Manson's video, you'll see that comments are turned off. And if you're wondering how they're working people into being okay with censorship, well, this is one of the ways. Someone like Marilyn Manson, right, who has the right to express himself, is preventing people from commenting underneath his video. And this is a common thing that we're seeing with people who align with the Democratic Party, right? Censorship of speech. They're almost training them in a way into obedience and into not allowing the opposition to actually speak. The people that they're angry at and being led into civil unrest with, they're not allowing to speak. So the coward that we all know Marilyn Manson is, he of course censors and shuts comments off under his video. Now let me start by reading to you the lyrics of this satanic anthem. The lyrics and the chorus, the main chorus of the song, and again, this is an anthem against people like me and you. It's time to beat up the bullies and wash the bullseye off my back. My red flag is your white one, soaked in blood. Your loyalty lies on the wrong side of the future. Your loyalty lies on the wrong side of the future. What that's referencing is Judgment Day. Remember, Satanists know the Bible inside and out, and they read the Bible in reverse, which means all of God's laws, they believe the opposite. In fact, they go out of their way to disobey God's laws. And when Satanists are baptized in Satanism, they have to break the 10 Commandments. And some might look at this and say, well, if they know the Bible inside and out, how can he sit there and say that we're on the wrong side of the future if he's speaking of Judgment Day? Well, he's saying your loyalty lies, as in L-I-E-S, as if our Father in heaven is a liar. And then by saying that we're on the wrong side of the future, this is what all of these Satanists believe. They believe with the technology that they have, with what the future looks like with transhumanism, that they're going to build up an army that is going to defeat God on Judgment Day. That's what they truly believe. Obviously, if they didn't believe that and they read the Bible, they would look at it and say, well, why wouldn't I side with the winner? The Bible clearly tells us who's going to win this war. They believe that they will win this war. And the lyrics go on to say, I don't give a blank if you say you're sorry. I won't accept your surrender. He's referencing the battle on Judgment Day, saying, I don't care if you're sorry. I won't accept your surrender. And then goes on to say that cadaver dogs already know your face. Why pretend in a room full of fakes? Something made up for idiots to praise, referencing calling us idiots, that it's made up for us to praise, even though, of course, we all know that Marilyn Manson truly worships Lucifer. This isn't an act. This isn't worshiping Lucifer as a ideal and not actually Lucifer. That's part of the deception. And let me get into the stuff with Manson now. Now, you may remember this clip that I've used before, and if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. It's a quick clip where Manson jokes about how he wants to start a Tinder for kids to show you the mindset that all these Satanists have, right? And then goes on to talk about Chateau Marmont, which for those of you that don't know is a famous hotel in Hollywood where all of these rituals occur. They have soundproof rooms on the top floor And all of these celebrities hang out there and commit rituals out in the open at this hotel. There are soundproof rooms. It's a famous hotel. It's in fact what is known as Hotel California. Listen to this disgusting clip.
See, I was trying to come up with a new Tinder for kids. Kinder. It's like for sexy kids. Oh, okay, well, let me just look at that very specifically because you just point out several rooms in this. They're very important. Because we're Hunter S. Thompson, Benicio del Toro, Nick Nolte. I'm going to keep name dropping. Johnny Depp, myself, Harry Dean, San Champagne, all hung out together. And Hunter S. Thompson had a bandage on his hand, and there was a hole in the window. Over here is where I met a girl that has 3 names, like Lee Harvey Oswald, Evan Rachel Wood. And then normally, I've never been to this castle part, but Chateau Marmont is very close to my house, and I love Chateau Marmont.
So again, he can joke about stuff like that, right? Because he's an artist. It's okay for him to say something so sick as to the notion of what Tinder for children actually is. And if you don't know, Tinder is a dating app where people date, pretty much just looking to hook up. That's what it is. Like looking to, not to get past the actual date and get into the bedroom, so to speak, is really what Tinder, the mindset of Tinder is. And he's talking about that with kids. Now, this is where I want to show you this stuff so you can see the connection, because Marilyn Manson, yes, we can look at him and say, oh, well, who doesn't know that Marilyn Manson's a Satanist? But you need to see the markings on his flesh, and you need to see his connections to other people, right? So we've seen Marilyn Manson, of course, ripping the Holy Bible in some of his videos. We know that he's very close, a little too close, probably behind closed doors, to Johnny Depp, right? Manson is one of the people who has aligned himself with Damien Echols. Now, if you're out there and you're new to my channel, you're probably going to say, Damien Echols didn't really know it. Damien Echols wasn't involved because, of course, you believe the propaganda that was produced by Hollywood, the propaganda on the West Memphis Street. Echols had a blood oath with Aleister Crowley. In fact, I believe through my research that he is actually a blood relative of Aleister Crowley. And that is why Hollywood went out of their way to get these 3 kids out of jail. Then, of course, they put more propaganda out about the father, the stepfather, making everyone think the stepfather was responsible for the murders. If you don't know, the murders were of innocent children who were taken and rituals performed on them. They had blood oaths and blood contracts with Aleister Crowley found in their homes. And of course, when you go to court and this stuff is read out loud, people can see, wow, this is real. But when you make a documentary about it and you ignore the blood oath with Aleister Crowley and all that stuff, and you just say, well, these kids were framed because they were wearing Metallica shirts and they were dressing like Marilyn Manson. Well, that's very easy to deceive very dumbed down people. So Manson, of course, aligned with another Satanist who is currently on YouTube, uncensored, Damien Echols, who posts videos about alchemy and black magic. He's freed from jail, of course, and he's on there. Don't worry about him getting censored, of course. That'll never happen. And Marilyn Manson, of course, if you don't know, also was involved in the documentary about Columbine. And Columbine, if you don't know, the 2 children at Columbine and their connection to the CIA and the FBI. Well, this goes back to what I talked about, Operation Orion, which was the CIA operation that I've mentioned that's in Bill Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse, that goes into detail about how they train these young children into acting out these events in schoolyards. These are actually false flag events, not psyops that occur. So after that happened, they made the kids look like they were bullied and this happened to them. And that's how we've gotten to where we are 25 years later. But Marilyn Manson was a key figure in all that because they tried to blame it on Marilyn Manson and blame it on his music. This stuff goes back to the Satanic Panic, when the fact of the matter is that these Satanists are responsible for mass hypnosis that's occurring on our society, which is why we're in the position that we're in now. The majority of people are under hypnotism and they can't figure it out. At the same time, they're getting built up to be narcissists, so it makes it almost impossible to penetrate their minds to actually get information in there to wake them up from this slumber that they're in. So Manson in the past, of course, we've seen him rip Bibles. We've seen him with the lightning bolt, which I've mentioned, which goes back to Luke chapter 10, verse 18. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. This is why you see bands like AC/DC, Metallica, Marilyn Manson. They all use the lightning bolt. David Bowie. because it's a reference to Satan. Because in the Bible, again, Luke chapter 10, verse 18, and he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Now, the other stuff that's obvious symbolism, right? Because we could all look at Manson and say, well, he's a Satanist, right? We've seen the all-seeing eye symbolism from every single celebrity. Of course, that ties into someone like Marilyn Manson, where you might look at a celebrity like Bono, and you might say, well, Bono's not a Satanist. Bono talks about being a Christian and all this, and he's doing the 666 over his eye, because they all pretend to be one side or the other, and they're all in bed with each other. They're all part of the same Luciferian coven. And we've seen Manson with the all-seeing eye symbolism, even the pigment in his eye, much like the Satanic Temple's founder does. All these Satanists do something along the lines of blacking out one of their eyes. So we've seen him doing the all-seeing eye symbolism. We've even seen him lots of times doing the shh sign, the vow of secrecy, the oath of silence, putting the finger up over his lip. If you don't know, Manson has this tattooed on his hand, which is the sigil of Lucifer. Right, he has other sigils on him, including his chest with the double helix upside down cross. And he's, of course, right on his wrist. Are you surprised that Marilyn Manson has an eyeball on each wrist? Because that's another common theme, right? They all love eyeballs, just like the back of the dollar bill. I guess it's just random that eyeball is on the back of the dollar bill, right? This is the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. And then this is really important. When you look closely at his fingers, now don't throw up on yourself looking at this guy's fingers and, of course, his painted fingernails, if you wonder where the social engineering came from a while ago with men wearing lipstick and painting their fingernails and how we got to where we are. We look no further than people like Marilyn Manson, right? So on his fingers, you'll see all these sigils, right? But look very closely, and you'll see the number 33 tattooed right on his finger. And that's the big connection that people need to understand. The connection of Freemasonry and secret societies. It's one thing to look at Manson and say, well, Manson just plays the role because he makes money being a Satanist. That's what the easy way out of this is. People go, it's just theatrics. They like to dress up like Kiss and all these guys, right? He has the number 33 tattooed on him. 33 is symbolic to the occult. It's the highest degree in Freemasonry. They are all members of Freemasonry, which you could find the Freemasonic Lodge in your town, wherever you are in the world. Okay, it's got its black and white Masonic checkerboard floor. You think they're in there. You don't know what they're doing. You've been told that they're just like a fraternity. They are worshiping Lucifer. That's what their books teach. I've gone through this with Albert Pike. All Freemasons read his books like Morals and Dogma. Albert Pike even had a statue recently taken down during all of the government-funded, taking down of monuments, etc. And that's because they don't want people to catch on to Pike and his involvement in the secret societies that actually run our current government. So Pike has talked openly about how the goal here is that they will out in the open be able to worship their god Lucifer, which is clearly who Manson worships. And again, 33 represents 1/3 of the fallen angels, if you don't know. And it also represents the age that it is believed that Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, was crucified. Now, what's interesting about the 33 is that these people get away with this out in the open. I want to point out another person who has 33 tattooed on him. He has it on his finger, and the newest member of the Truth Movement, if you haven't seen, if you want to know how wolves in sheep's clothing works and how luring people in by tickling their ears works, Russell Brand is the perfect example. He has it marked right on him. He has 33 right on his wrist. And all he has to do is come out and laugh it off and say that, it's a conspiracy nut thing, right? Even though Manson has it tattooed on his, maybe they're a part of the same. What, they just love the number 33? Is that it? We're all waiting. Are they Larry Bird fans or Patrick Ewing? These are old basketball players. Does anybody know an athlete with the number 33? They're big diehard fans, right? Right? Is that what we're supposed to believe? And of course, Russell Brand even recently posted a picture of him with the 33 on his wrist holding, I'm assuming, his wife's hand, who also has 33 tattooed on her wrist. So maybe they went on a dating site and they typed in what are things you're looking for in someone else. They just put in loves to have tattoos of numbers on their wrists. I guess so, right? I guess so. How gullible and dumb people could be. And of course, Russell Brand was ushered out when the Truth Movement on YouTube and on the internet was removed. They wiped out the Truth Movement and they replaced it with Hollywood actors. And now part of the problem that you're seeing is that all of these people that they put there, like Russell Brand and Ben Shapiro, are gatekeeping. They are gatekeeping and they are luring in Christians and they are tickling their ears to make them think, hey, you know what? We see that Christians are under attack, but we're here for you. We have millions of subs and we're here for you, right? All these big, fully platformed YouTubers like Russell Brand, of course, he's connected to Yuval Harari, who I've shown you millions of times, Yuval Harari, who talks about how humans are hackable animals and goes into mocking the Bible and how we need to get rid of the Bible. That's his best buddy. There he kisses him right there, on the ears. Even has his own podcast, if you don't know, Russell Brand, called Under the Skin, right? And if you're understanding of what's going on, they're trying to lure Christians in to getting underneath their skin. And that is the mark of the beast that I am speaking of. Brand, of course, recently, to play off this deception with his 33 tattoo and his allegiance and his close relationship with people in the Rothschild family, he got baptized. So, of course, we're supposed to be stupid, naive Christians and just go, hey, he got baptized. He's been saved. We have to automatically believe him because he tells us, despite the Bible constantly warning us about wolves in sheep's clothing, who we're supposed to know, their tree by its fruits. No, we're supposed to ignore that because Russell Brand takes a picture of himself being baptized, even though we're supposed to pray and do these things in secret in our closet. He does it out on YouTube, so we're all supposed to believe that this isn't fake. Who are we to say anything else other than this is real and this is legit, even though every single thing shows us that these people are clearly luring Christians in for a major deception, which ties in all the stuff with Trump, right? Back to Manson, because I'm tying in Russell Brand because I'm also going to tie in Kanye West. Because despite his tree being known for nothing but rotten fruits, he's declared himself a Christian and goes out and acts like a lunatic. And he says some things that should make us all go, oh, he's speaking out finally, right? Like when he talks about that group that you're not allowed to talk about. We're supposed to hear that and go, hey, Kanye West is speaking the truth because he's talking about those people that we all know are wicked, right? But nothing's happening to Kanye West. He isn't being arrested. He isn't being whacked. He's out in the open doing what? Mocking Christianity, right? With Marilyn Manson, doing sermons with Marilyn Manson. Need I say more? If you didn't see his Donda ritual that he performed, mocking Christianity and, of course, referencing the book of Revelation, and every Christian out there goes, no, don't you dare say anything wrong, because I like some of his beats. I will listen to Kanye, because now that he said he's a Christian, I don't have to feel guilty about listening to his music anymore. Now I can look in the mirror, and he's not going to influence me in any way, shape, or form anyway. But the fact of the matter is these people keep telling themselves that, and the Bible warns so much about idolizing and false idols, and that's what you're seeing. And now I think we can see this day and age, maybe more so than other time periods, just why God warned so much about false idols and idol worship, right? Because I think for periods, people thought, oh, what are we going to look for somebody? I think a lot of Christians do today too. They're like, oh, I'm going to look for somebody who's worshiping at an altar, a statue. Well, they're worshiping these people and they're letting these people influence their behavior. So Brand is is luring in Christians, right? Just like Kanye West is luring in Christians. And these people all have an allegiance, and at least an outright allegiance to Lucifer, but an affiliation with one another, right? These people are all connected to one another. So Manson, back to him and raise the red flag. This is an anthem for vengeance. This is a fighting anthem. Now, if a Christian wrote this song about Satanists, the FBI would be at your front door and the CIA would be at your front door. And they'd say you're putting threats online and you're calling for violence. And this is being done as a gaslighting tactic. They're doing this deliberately. They want you to get very upset because they want to incite violence. They want you to participate in a major false flag that we know is coming after the fake elections, right? If you didn't hear, Joe Biden, even recently in the past week, had a quote where he said, beat the hell out of the MAGA Republicans. He wants them to beat the hell out of them.
Let me tell you what our Project 2025 is. Beat the hell out of them.
He says, let me tell you what our Project 2025 is. Beat the hell out of them. So we can see what they're doing here. If you're paying attention, they're trying to lump us in. They're trying to yoke us up with these individuals. And then when you talk to somebody like organically out in your day-to-day life who comes across this stuff, right? I'm sure you've heard people who are like, oh, you sound like Alex Jones. Oh, or you listen to Russell Brand. They want to lump us in with these people who are deliberately trying to gatekeep truth and lead you in the wrong direction. They give you little bits of truth, but they also are there as wolves in sheep's clothing. So we can look at Manson and we can say, well, it's very obvious he's a sadist from all the stuff that I've shown you, from what everybody out there knows, even though, as crazy as it sounds, there's actually people out there that think this whole thing is an act. Like he would mark up his entire body with satanic sigils that they would never understand what they actually mean just because it was part of the show, right? Or he just likes those, he's a big fan of shapes. So he gets pyramids tattooed on. That's how, they can't think past as far as they can spit, most of these people, which isn't far at all, right? Most of them spit on themselves, which, kind of sums up the state of the world, right? But they look at it and they think it's an act, believe it or not. But it's very clear to see in that 33 tattoo is important to note, because they're the ones who are hurting and manufacturing this civil unrest. They are strategically turning society against Christians. And he doesn't have that number 33 tattooed on him because he's just some random artist who's famous with crap music. Because he's one of them. He's part of the club. Just like Brand is part of the club. Just like all of them are part of the club. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you as always and your families.